Hey guys, I'm going to start promoting it now. So hang on just a second.
Gary, you look cold.
Well, I was till I buttoned up all the buttons. So the thing is too, this is a new top. I don't know if you can see this. It's let's see if it shows up here. It was from a brewery up in Cooperstown, New York, where the Baseball Hall of Fame is. So apparently Cooperstown is famous for more than just baseball. And it's called Omegang. It's German. And boy, was it good. Big, great restaurant, great outdoor space. That was pretty awesome. That was back in June. So in any case, if I unbutton this, if one goes up and one stays down, it kind of looks kind of goofy. So let's see. Hey guys, as I promote you, go ahead and turn on your camera. You can put on a still shot if you don't want to, if you're wearing your pajamas or you've got your hair up in a bun, you don't want people to see something like that. But what happens is it allows you to communicate more easily, chatting and so forth.
Look at PF all hidden in his Halloween.
Oh, no kidding. Hang on one second. And then when soon as Jeannie gets on, she'll help out.
Oh, and he changed his name too.
Oh, happy Halloween. We think it's PF. There's a smile. Yep, we call him Mr. Cool. Welcome to all the guests too. I saw there were several guests on, so you guys welcome aboard. Treat it like any other class. This is open. You can ask questions, post questions, unmute yourself, mute your mic. Once things get going and get warmed up here, it gets kind of lively sometimes. So make sure you just plug yourself in and learn all you can learn. So all right, let's check the promotions here. Hang on one second. Greg and Kevin Keller, did you get the information you needed for New Jersey? Let me know what the status is, or if you don't mind, if we can help. Obviously, we're glad to do that. Oops, those are panelists are already in. Okay, I think everybody is in so far. We'll probably likely add some more. Guys, tonight what I'm going to go over is, this came up the other week, is keeping your deals together. So whenever you have a shifting market, particularly when the market's shifting down, which is what's happening now, prices are going up dramatically, followed by rate increases, and we're likely facing at least one more this year. I doubt they're going to do a rate increase between now and next Tuesday. Obviously, it's too close to the election. They don't want to influence election results by having another rate increase, so they'll wait. But they did tell us there's potentially two more in the offing. Well, it's just still early November, so my gut call is we'll do one more by the end of the year and try to hold steady till after the holidays. That's probably what they'll do. But if there's enough pressure, don't be surprised if they do one after the election and another one in December. So just keep your eye on things. Watch look at the neutral news services if they're already out there. Be careful what you watch, because you'll have one story but two drastically different interpretations. So in any case, let's see here. So Phyllis, you're from Jay's group, Jay Connor. So please tell Jay we said hello. We actually had Jay teach for us back that was end of August, actually, just about 2 months ago. Hard to believe that's been 2 months now. So known him for a lot of years, probably at least 12, if not 13 years now. Pretty neat guy. So welcome aboard, Jay. And is it Moshe Lee? Did I pronounce it correctly?
It's Mo's.
Without the, okay, gotcha.
Mo's. Yeah, Mo's.
Thank you. Well, welcome aboard and thanks for doing that. That names are important, right?
Yes.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Mo. So are you also part of Jay Connor's group or?
Well, with Greg Holt, I don't know what group he's with.
Oh, Greg. Yeah, he's on the team. So he's here tonight. He's
Okay,
on.
he invited me.
Oh, good. Well, if you're a friend of Greg's, you're a friend of the team. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank
Hi,
you.
Jerry.
Yep.
Hello.
Hey, Greg, good to see you.
Hello. Good. Hello.
Okay, so Kathy's on, and hey, Kevin Keller, if you I promoted you. I forget what it looks like, I know what it looks like on your screen, but if you can make yourself available there, you can post questions and ask questions and stuff. Looks like Phyllis, are you on your bike exercising? Oh, that's awesome, man. That's an inspiration, you know. One of my friends in Florida. What's that?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for doing that. One of my good friends in Florida, all day long, she's on a treadmill, working on her computer, taking her phone calls, doing Zoom calls all day long. She says she gets 7 miles in a day just walking, you know. So good stuff. Okay, guys, it's 7:07, so we're gonna get started here. Hang on, let me promote Brianna. And we'll get started. So a couple things. A week ago, was it last week? I think it was last week. We talked about the opportunity to teach at your local community colleges. So I did put a program together over the weekend for us to work together as a team to create a work group for that, for those of you who want to teach at your local community college. And it could be any number of topics. Obviously, you want them to be related to real estate, because then those people, the students in those classrooms, guess who they use as their realtor next? You know, that would be you. Yep. So some of the obvious classes are, number one, you could teach a class on flipping. Number two, you could teach a class on buying rentals. Another one could be a class on managing the rentals for profit, right? That's a favorite topic. Another one could be just traditional, owner occupants. What do I actually do to buy a house? What do I actually do to sell my house? So a lot of people they'll think, well, I'll sell my house myself. Teach a class on that. Show them everything that has to be done. Into the class, they still might try it themselves, and 2/3 of the time it doesn't work, so they use this anyways. A lot of times when you show people all that's involved, right, they'll just say, you know what, can I just use you? So teaching a class, guys, is an awesome thing to do. You don't have to be a professional trained teacher. You don't have to have a teaching degree. A lot of classes in community colleges are taught by local business owners, just like you and I. And this wouldn't be the first time a real estate agent taught a class. But in any case, I just came up with 4 possible subjects. And you can do that. You can do one a semester, and every 2 years rotate your class subjects, or you could do 2 a semester, do like for investors right now. I think it'd be an extremely timely subject to teach people about buying rentals and managing rentals for profits. 2 different things. You could do that in the spring semester, starting in January, what we call a winter semester if you want. And the next time you have a semester, do one on flipping, right? And do one for traditional homeowners. So in any case, the point of me telling you all this is we're going to have the first group session this Thursday night. And that's just going to be so if you really want to do it. So come to Thursday night. I'll go into a lot more detail. I've got the entire agenda laid out. Everything you need to know, everything you need to do, what the requirements are, the time commitments, things like that, so you know what you're getting into. But look for the message I posted on the workplace page. That was yesterday, and I sent an email out from KV Core. It came for me. It actually said it was to me because it said, "Hi, Gary." That's only because I chose when the field to put the name in, accidentally selected my name instead of the recipient's name. That's why it all says "Dear Gary." So in any case, if you guys can let me know that would be awesome. Just come on Thursday night. You can sign up. If you're a guest, you're welcome to sign up also. I don't mind at all. This is an open forum, open class. We typically have people in, a lot of, we just wrote a book actually, and 2 of the authors were not on the team. One of them was not even an EXP. That's just how we operate. This is a education-based activity. So just like the book. So if you want to participate and drum up some business when the times get slow, it'd be a good time to do it. And I will tell you, statistically speaking, there's the book right there. Thanks, PF. That's the 8 books we just put out there. We've got 10 reviews now. We sold well over 100 books, not including the ones that I've purchased. So far the book's doing great, and it's an unbelievably timely subject. What do you do to not just survive but thrive in a shift? So today, as of today, actually yesterday, today, compared to this point last year, year to year, mortgage applications are down a full 50%. Okay, that's really dramatic. Closings, every title companies are all saying the same thing. The volume of transactions is down a week. I kind of already know that. Okay, so prices have increased. Interest rates now the prevailing mortgage rate is 7%. Right, it was 1.3% just not even a year ago. So pretty dramatic stuff. It's going to have an impact on the market. The cool thing for you is, because you're part of this group, you know what to do. All you have to do is make sure you build up the investor side of your business if you haven't already, so that you can adjust to the market. You spend more time on investors now and less time on owner occupants. When the market heaps up, you kind of shift back a little bit. The point is to have the complete model. So just a quick show of hands here, or if you just want to type it in the chat box, let me know if you'd like to make it Thursday night, because I didn't set it up so you had to register to be there. I just made it so anybody could show up. So I want to get an idea of how many people are thinking of being there. I know Rob Lane is. So PF, Rob Lane, Cindy, Greg. Okay, so far that's 4. We usually look for a group size of about 10, could be 8, could be 12. I got a feeling we'll have more takers, because if you think about it, guys, the average class is 6 to 8 weeks. That's 1 hour per week. And if it doesn't get any easier than that, we're actually going to give you the content. You don't even have to create the content. We're going to work on the syllabus together and in the outline and so forth. So now we're up to 8, I think, 8 people. That's good. You're going to be able to use the books that we have, not the latest one, but the one on flipping, the one on buying rentals, and one on managing rentals. You're going to get to use those completely for free, right? We probably will ask your students to buy the massive passive cash flow method book, because it has all the content in there from all the books in a summary fashion. So that, plus I think that book's like 15 or 20 bucks. And what I'll do is I'll make all the profits go to the Healing House Foundation, but that way they'll have the material they need. The thing I haven't been able to figure out yet is on the training programs. I don't think we can give them directly the training programs, but I do have the source material, so we could utilize that too if we needed to. But that's a bigger commitment on their part. That would be something that they'd have to pay. I think it's $395 for the complete program. With the material, that is, if your students want to do that, that would be on them, and you would get credit for it, actually. In any case, the bottom line is this: it's going to position you as a person of authority in the marketplace. You'll have that teacher-student relationship, which is pretty hard to compete with, and you can teach multiple classes. So you'll earn money from this. And for me personally, teaching like that is literally, that's how I got started in this business, was teaching. And I didn't know how to teach. I was not professionally trained to teach, but I probably got easily several thousand closings out of that, and easily, into the millions as far as gross commission income goes over those years. So the number one marketing campaign for me was doing that, hands down, above all others. So in any case, the booklet came out of that, by the way, right? And some of the books I wrote came out of that effort also. So in any case, so that's Thursday night. Now, let me check the chat box here. Catherine, Brianna's going to try to make it. Eric, PF, Greg, Rob, Cindy. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, we'll check for more as we go closer to the class. So thanks, Andre. right now for tonight's class. What I wanted to do tonight, guys, is talk about how to keep deals together. All right. And have an open mic so we can go around and talk about your transactions and your clients and what's happening and what do you need to do to get them over the fence? What do you need to do to keep the deals together? Because it's going to happen when the Fed first raised the interest rates the first time this year back in June. Immediately in the month of June, 15% of transactions were the buyers pulled back on them. They pulled out when the rates went up. 15% of transactions right off the top. We took a haircut because the Fed raised interest rates. So it's going to happen. So what I want to do is let's do a quick little test, a quick poll here. So in the chat box, type in the chat box, just say the word me if you've ever had a deal fall apart. I mean, we all want to keep them together, but one you really wanted to try to keep together and you just couldn't do it. If you who's ever had a deal, I mean, if you've been in the business long enough, you're probably going to say yes. I've had multiple deals fall apart, and I'll give you some examples. Yeah, Rob, too many times. Brianna, Andre, yep. You've been around long enough, it's going to happen. So can we do a case study? Cindy, would you mind, sharing one of your examples of a deal that you really wish that had kept together but fell apart? Just talk about it. Let's see if we can troubleshoot it and salvage it in retrospect,
Sure. This one happened early this summer. I had a listing. We needed a roof on the listing. In Florida, you have to have a roof that is, at that time, the roofs had to be 10 years or newer. So we listed it just under 200 to get the frenzy going of, yes, we know we're going to have to put the roof, just trying to make sure we had enough in there. If he got enough to put the roof, we had a roofer that was going to pay at close. So we got the 225 offer that came in. So this is a tip for you to pay attention on your FHA VA buyers. If they're going in as individuals and in Florida, the spouses have to sign that they know that they're getting a mortgage. Well, this lender did not dig deep enough to realize that that female did not have a spouse. We found out about it late in the deal after the roof had been put on, all the repairs had been done. And there was just no way we could put it together because of that factor. And the listing went back active, and the seller insisted, because they got the 225 offer, that that's what they were going to sell this for again. But the market could not hold 225 because it had begun to come down because of the interest rates going up. So that was a learning curve for me to know to make sure you're partners with your lenders. And if you come with a pre-qualified buyer, even if it's on the other agent that says, yeah, they're pre-qualified, pick up the phone, call the lender and ask them, how deep did they vet that buyer?
Mm-hmm. So the buyer was married, but did not indicate that she was married and did not add the spouse to the loan application, I guess, right? Is that the
Correct?
The first part?
Correct. They were in the middle of a divorce, but the rumor was he couldn't be found and all these other, I don't know, but the lender should have known better.
Absolutely. That's a classic 101, lending 101 mistake, So, I'm surprised it didn't come up in any of because the applications are pretty thorough. Where do you live? What's your, I mean, I hate to say it this way, but chances are she was purposely trying to, pull it over on people, because that's one of the questions,
Yeah. And if she checked no, because he's been out of her life for so long, she doesn't consider them married anymore, then is that technically mortgage fraud? I don't know.
Yeah. So what can we do there? One is, like Cindy said, the exact same thing I was thinking right at the beginning is, call the lender and ask if you can please see the official, if it was a pre-approval or pre-qualification, whichever one, to see the official one in writing. Okay. And then the agent, always ask them, okay, well, can you tell me about your buyers? This is a single person, married person. go through that kind of stuff, because it's not uncommon to do that, guys. I know a lot of us don't do it. But it's a valid, you want to protect your seller. I mean, your obligation is protect your seller. In this case, you're the seller's representative. But that sort of will save a lot of trouble going forward. So I'm guessing at the end of the day, Cindy, on the back end, it either didn't make sense to add the husband because something in his background would have killed the deal anyways, and or she would not have qualified on her own,
Well, she
because
qualified on her own. It wasn't that, it's just in Florida, because he has to sign, they could not do the loan.
Yeah, there is something I've seen, and I don't know if it's possible in Florida, where a spouse would sign a waiver of basically spousal rights relative to that property. You ever seen that done before?
I think that's pretty much what they have to sign, but if you can't find him, you can't get him to sign it.
Yeah, that's too bad. So it really was probably, in her mind, she wasn't purposely trying to defraud anybody. She was like, hey, you go ahead and try to find them.
Right, and it's back to the, you ask the lender the right questions, because in Florida contracts, the contract says that the listing agent has the right to ask the buyer's lender all those kinds of questions to vet the buyer deeply. It's not a matter of, we get protective of our buyers and our sellers, but at the same time, we have to make sure those buyers are solid. And I've never had where a spouse could not be found come up in my career. So that's a new one.
Yep. Well, I want to make a correction to what I said to Kathy. Brought this up. You do have to be careful of what you say and what you're asked for, because of marital status, familial status is a protected class. Whether somebody's married or not. So what you could say is, you could disclose to say, I'd like to find more out about your buyer. Can you tell me, about their current situation? Are they by themselves? Are they part of a family unit? And I'm not asking to keep somebody in or out. The sellers are really interested in knowing who's coming in to buy the house.
Well, I would word it, because of my experience, I would be able to word it, say, hey, look, I've had a deal fall apart before because a single person that's buying on the contract was actually married. I said, it doesn't matter to me if they're married or not, but in Florida, because of what the Florida law says, are they truly single, or do they have a spouse that needs to be found to sign those mortgage papers?
Yep. Yeah. And another thing too, I mean, if a possibility would be to use private money instead of using a FHA, Fannie Mae, any of the quasi-government backed loans. Now, a conventional loan, they're still going to want to know that information, but it might not be as big a deal killer,
And this is something I don't know. Maybe it's worth digging into. It has to do with Florida homestead as part of the reason. So I don't know if private money would protect that homestead scenario or not.
Yeah.
Hi, Gary. This is Greg in California, Arizona. When they file the deed, when they record the deed, they're going to have to, either the person's married or not, and they're going to do a little research on it, and you're going to have the quitclaim deed from the spouse if the person has been married. Or if they've been married, then hey, show me your separation or divorce papers. That's going to be on the lender, but that's like you said, that's something we have to check into.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that, Cindy. And that's definitely tough. And usually it's somebody getting cold feet, a bad inspection report, the appraiser comes in lower than they want, that kind of thing. But with something like that, that's why insurance, including title insurance, by the way, that's one of the first things they always disclose is, everything's all covered except in the case of fraud, because you can't detect sometimes if somebody's being fraudulent, until after it's too late. So in that situation, I don't know if it would have been too late to try to, delay the closing, go to a conventional lender, at least ask them, hey, here's the situation. We can't find the spouse. Is there a loan?
She was dealing with an inexperienced lender, and the buyer's agent couldn't get her to use another lender to think outside the box.
Okay. That's too bad. Yeah.
So always have your lenders that can have that outside the box thought process.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's some really good ones out there, guys. I mean, over the years, sometimes you got to kiss a lot of frogs to get that prince, but it definitely pays off when you have a good lender in your back pocket. Man, it's worth their weight in gold, Yep. Okay, let's see, who else had one? Oh, Tony wants to know if she lost her hand money.
She sure did. My
Yeah.
sellers got that money. My seller
Okay.
said they didn't want it, and I said, you're getting it.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's go. So Greg, looks like you had one fall apart too. One you can share with the group?
Yeah, once I did that, I can't remember the deal now. So it's been a while. It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you when I came across this years ago. It was one of my agents, Bob Knowles, his name. He was retired Marine. And at the end of the day, he probably ended up working for minimum wage on this thing, but we would not. It was his first transaction. I'm like, Bob, do not give up. No matter what it takes, you get that train back on the tracks. And this thing probably fell off the tracks 3 different times, and finally he got it limping into the station. And I think his commission was whittled down to next to nothing, but he closed his first deal, and it took several months longer than he anticipated. But one of the first things that happened was the lender that had approved the loan had backed out, that partway through the deal. So they did have to find a new lender. That was the first thing. And we did find a lender, a local lender at a community bank. So they were able to do traditional conventional financing. It was a bank that did not sell their mortgages. So this is really important, guys. When banks sell their mortgages, they have to follow FHA rules. When banks don't sell their mortgages, they're not selling the mortgage on the secondary market, so they don't have to follow all those rules. There are rules they have to follow, but not some of these. So they can be more creative, right? They have more say so because they're keeping the loan in house. They're not selling the loan. They're going to keep it for 30 years if they have to. And that was what we did. Went to a local lender, called a portfolio lender, like a hugely small local community bank. And you want to ask those questions. Do you sell all your mortgages? And if the answer is no, you say, great. Of the ones you keep, is it possible to run this loan through? Do you think? Here's the scenario. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. That's what we did with Bob. The second thing is of course, there was a bad inspection. And the buyer's going to walk away. The seller's upset. The other agent really didn't know exactly what to do. So I'm coaching Bob through all this. And we did. It's actually Cindy mentioned this early on. We found a contractor who was willing to do the work and get paid at the closing. So if you can find a contractor that will do that, sometimes that'll allow you to keep your deals going through, because if there's necessary repairs, sometimes the seller is going to say, I don't have that money. I don't have that kind of money. And the lender's not going to close on the property, particularly if it's an FHA lender or a VA lender, until the repairs are done, right? Yeah, Rob Lane just typed in the company called Curbio. So if you're new to this group, write this down. Curbio, Curbio, and they're almost in all the states. They're a national company that they'll do remodeling, and they'll do it in a way that they don't have to get paid until the closing, which is really important. So this is what we did with Bob Knowles' second issue, which was a bad inspection report, and there were things that were code related that had to be done. Seller just couldn't do it. Had no cash. So that was the second one. The third and final one was, unfortunately, the appraisal did not come in the way we wanted it to. And we thought that was it. Strike 3, we're out. And I said, no, hang on a second. Now, this was back before all the laws were changed. Remember, after the big meltdown, late 2007 through essentially 11, there was 2009 when Congress passed legislation
Gary,
changing. Yes, yeah, go ahead.
will you promote Karen Green? I'm sorry to
yes.
interrupt.
Oh, thanks. Hey, Karen, hang on one second.
There's quite a few on the other side.
Yeah,
Kevin,
Kevin.
you wanna make me co-host and I can keep an eye on it?
Yeah, good idea. Thanks, guys. Yeah, Rob and Andre to the rescue again. Okay, Andre, your co-host.
Okay.
So in any case, who here remembers when you could actually go to an appraisal, meet the appraiser, and bring some of your own homework with you? Some of your own, yeah. Did you know you can actually still do that? You're allowed to actually show the appraiser how you came up with your figures. And that's exactly what we did. And darn if he didn't adjust it to be able to get the deal to go through. So all of this thing probably took 6 or 7 months longer than it was supposed to. And poor Bob, he actually had back surgery in the middle of all this too, if you can imagine that. The guy can hardly walk. But we got the deal through there, and the lesson was we just didn't give up, you know. Now with Cindy's situation, I'm going to claim that it wasn't fraud, but unfortunately she misled people because she was still technically married in the eyes of the state. Didn't tell anybody till it was too late, and that's enough to scare any lender. I mean, I don't, you know, it's too bad it didn't go to another lender anyways just to see, but that's a tough one. So, in any case, so Greg, yeah, go ahead, Greg. Sounds like your memory kicked back in.
Yeah, I remember kicked back in. One of the first clients I had, sure, I got my license. This is a house in the kind of the Baldwin Hills area of Los Angeles. Back then was $450,000, which was quite a bit for this lady. She was afraid of the price. There were some things like a couple other people said, some repairs that need to be done. We had a repair person. Couldn't find out after digging a bit that the repair person wasn't licensed. He was using somebody else's license, so that canceled the deal, went back to the seller. Couldn't sell it, so we got back in escrow. And then the seller's repair guy was a wall or something, retaining wall that needed to be repaired. Come to find out the seller's guy wasn't licensed. So ended up working together, verified and found some more about how to track down somebody's license, and is the person giving you the license really the person you're dealing with. So that was kind of interesting. Found the property, finally got into it. She bought it for $450. That was about 7-8 years ago. It's going for 1.5 now. So 1.5 million now. So then also the funny part with all that is the owner of the house she was buying had lost the house and foreclosure, and then a separate owner ended up buying it, who this person was from. Well, that person that lost the house ended up renting putting an application to rent the lady's house, that my buyer's house. We were kind of afraid of some fraud or something, so he didn't qualify for renting her house, that her second house she already had. But we thought that was kind of odd that the guy was the owner of the house she was buying, and he's now trying to rent her house. So kind of pulled all that, but she's now happy that she bought the house, and it's gone up in value.
I was going to say 450,000 in that area, man. I mean, everybody's kicking themselves that didn't buy at that price, you know. Holy smokes! So, okay, all right. Well, thanks for sharing that one. Let me look and see. I know there was a number of hands that went up there when I asked a question earlier. Let's see, Tony, Catherine. Hey, Andre, you mind sharing the one you had? If you probably got a couple of, because I know you were in it for a while.
Yeah, I
too.
was trying to think about it. I mean, I know we've had dozen, over the 30 years that fell apart. One, I'll see if I can stump you, because I couldn't think of any way to well.
Andre, do you mind if
Yeah.
I ask a quick question? Just because I'm
Sure.
sorry, but I ended up coming in late on this. So I assume the question was talking about what happened, like if a deal fell apart. Is that the question? Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, the one that always sticks out to my mind is one that we listed a property, and we sold it for full price within, like, I don't know, a week. And it should have been a 5-minute deal, just, or a 15-minute deal, go meet the seller and have them sign all the paperwork. But my seller got just emotional, thinking about how her grandfather built that house, and she really decided, they really just changed her mind. She didn't want to sell the house. And I said, well, why did you even call me to list the house if you didn't want to sell it? She goes, oh, I really didn't think it was going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
And what do? I mean, I had a contract signed. for, I think it was 7% transaction fee, the whole 9 yards. And I could have pushed it, right? Because I mean, we did the job. We got a fully executed contract signed by the purchaser that was pre-approved, ready to go.
Mhm.
But I just, I just let her slide and ask for referrals. Because obviously, hey, she didn't think the house was gonna sell, but we sold it within, a week for full price. And I, got some referrals, I think, out of it, but
Good.
those are kind of crazy ones when someone doesn't think you can sell a house, and of course you do it, and then they just and they back out and don't want to go forward.
Yeah. Well, we had one, it was actually, I don't know if, let me see if Teresa's on tonight. Let's see, I don't see Teresa. Okay, it's very similar. So here's what happened. She's the listing agent. Had got the house under contract, buyers are ready to go, buyer had already paid for the application, the inspection, appraisal, everything. And she took the seller out to go look at other properties, because now they're gonna have to, find somewhere else to move to because they're selling their house. And as you might imagine, they weren't too pleased with the prices out there, even though they were happy they were gonna sell their house for more than they thought. Also realized now they're gonna have to pay more for whatever house they move into. But the worst part was the interest rates. The interest rates had already risen. Mortgage rates were twice what they were when they first started thinking about this. So it was the seller that backed out. It was actually the seller's wife. She said, look, I'm not going to sell only to a move into an inferior property, because that's what we're going to do. They were going to downsize to be able to afford what they were going to have to move into, and yet not save any money on the mortgage payments. They're like, it was a break-even deal for them, although they would have had some capital coming out. So it was, unfortunately too late. By the time this thing came to our attention, it was already it's a done deal. So, this buyer can always do what's called force a sale because of something called specific performance. In other words, the seller didn't perform according to duties of the contract, and perform the duties according to the contract, excuse me. But any decent lawyer would tell you, say, look, you first off have to prove it. You got to go to get a hire the attorney, go to court, duke it out in court. It's going to cost a lot of money. At the end of the day, the judge can say, yes, you have to sell your house from the Joneses to the Wilsons. But beyond that, they can't really, make it happen like right there on the spot. It could still take months and months. And by then the market could have changed again, and at the end of the day, it's probably better just to go find another darn deal. So that's why the specific performance is often really not a good solution, only in really extreme situations where something is probably deemed to be inappropriate or somewhat fraudulent. So any case, what I would have said there, this is what Teresa and I went over in a one-on-one session, is, I understand what you're talking about. It looks like things are going, the market is correcting. We're going to correction mode. So you're getting less house, right, than for the money. However, when you think about that, what happens when demand drops? Remember, supply and demand is a seesaw, right? One side goes up, the other side goes down. So as you raise the cost of borrowing money, would you guys all agree that knocks certain buyers out of the market, or at least knocks them down to a lower tier in the market? They can buy, now they have to buy lesser of a house because the mortgage rates are higher, right? So when you lower that demand, right, what happens to pricing? When the demand goes down, what happens to pricing? It goes down, right? So my logic is this: say, look, a lot of people play this game. They realize they've been in their business, they've owned their home for 25, 30 years. They've seen the market go up and down 3 times in that time frame. They know we're at the peak. What's going to happen. Price is going to go down. So why don't you take advantage of the sale now? Get the most you're going to get, because you're not going to get any more than what you're getting now. The values are going up. We just established that. Just get a place to rent for a year. Yeah, you might have to spend, $1,500 a month or something that's going to somebody else to pay their mortgage, but you're basically just having a holding pattern. And then take your time, wait for new construction to start over again, get yourself a brand new house built the way you want it when the market's coming back out again. It could be the 6 months could be 18 months, nobody knows. But you're probably maybe giving up, say 18,000 in rents, although you are getting a place to live in that same time frame, and yet you're probably saving another 60,000 to 80,000 in housing costs by buying at a lower price. Does that make sense? So now, what's the biggest argument people will have against that logic? What's the number one thing they'll say?
They don't want to pay the mortgages, the mortgage for this owner.
Well, they don't want to move twice.
Oh,
They don't want to sell and then move in an apartment, put all their stuff in storage, and then a year later, 2 years later, move again. That's the number one argument.
that's not.
I would
fun.
just say, yeah, I know you're paying a mover, I get it, but you're putting stuff in storage, but let's just do the math on that. Let's compare the math. And you tell me what you think is a better deal, so, but that's the logic I would use there. Now, since Andre brought it up, I'm gonna bring up another situation that is for investment properties, okay? So this was in Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. It was up near Flint, Michigan. 30-unit building. The owner had passed away and her 2 sons had inherited the property. I think it was actually 3 siblings. And they couldn't agree on anything. One person wanted to keep it, one wanted to sell it, one wanted to whatever. I think one of them didn't care. Actually, they were living in New York and said, just give me my money when it's all done. So we agreed to have it listed to see what it would sell for, right? As you might imagine, the numbers were looking pretty darn good. However, that place was only 1/3 occupied. Literally 2/3 of the place was empty. So I know Karen Green, some of the commercial folks in here know as well as I do, that bigger properties are valued based on what's called the income approach to valuation, right? It's all based on the income, actual income, okay, not projected income. In other words, that thing would have been $1 million easily. And believe me, Flint, Michigan, I know you're 30 in a building for $1 million sounds like, how could you ever get that kind of a good deal? That's Flint is that kind of an area, okay? So it would have been $1 million building if it was fully occupied, but it was only 1/3 occupied. And the sons were like furious. They're like, what do you mean? It's still the same building. It's still the same land. I said, I get it, but this is not a brick and mortar valuation. This is an income valuation. Somebody's buying it for the income stream. That's what they want. Right now, the income stream is at only 1/3 of what it could be in capacity. So I said, why don't you guys take it off the market and get that fully rented? They're like, we don't want to do that. We don't want to pay a property manager. And I was like, well, now I know why it's 1/3 full. Because they're not, there's nobody managing it. They don't want to pay a manager. People aren't paying the rent and all kinds of bad things were happening. So what I got them to agree to is this. It's called a rent participation mortgage. The good news is there was no mortgage on the property. They didn't have to pay off some other mortgage, right? The mom had to completely pay it off. So the way a rent participation mortgage is this. You buy it, you base the value on current production. So basically 1/3 of what they could have sold it for if it was fully occupied. However, the sellers get the sellers get to participate in future rent increases, okay? Not filling the vacancies. Remember, filling the vacancies is going to be all on the new owner and they got all those rents. But on the 30 units that they had, the 30 tenants they inherited, for the next, you can make it 3 years, 5 years, whatever rent increases the new owner puts in on those occupied units, the tenants that they inherited, the old owner, the seller, gets 50% of the net increase. So everybody follow me on that? It's called a rent participation mortgage. So let's say the rents were $500 a month across the board, and over 5 years, the new owners raised those rents another $500. So now those tenants are paying $1,000 a month, the 30 tenants that were there. So as they raised the rents, the old owners would have got 50% of just the increase, not the original rents, but the increase. So at the end of 5 years, when they raised it the full $500, they would have given $250 a month to the old owner and kept the other $250 increase themselves. But it ends at a certain time. It's not forever. They ended at 5 years. So that was what they did there. The buyers got a good deal because they got it at its value based on current production, which was 1/30 what the property was really worth if it was fully occupied. They get to manage it themselves to production, full capacity. And the old owner, by the way, who held the note, so this is private funding. Okay, you don't go to a bank for this. It was private owner financing. And it ended up being, they structured it so that at the end of the day, they would have paid more for private money anyways, but they got a good deal on the private money, the interest rate on the private loan. And they structured it so that the old owner feels like they're getting 50% of the increased profits. But the reality is, the buyer, the guy who bought it, got a really good deal on the loan, right? So Karen, have you ever seen this before? Rent participation mortgage? You're muted, by the way, sorry.
Yeah, I have seen that, but I haven't really dealt with it.
Yeah, it's extremely creative. And the thing is, if you think about it, it's owner financing. The buyer knows he's going to pay the owner for the mortgage, right? And as you might guess, when it was all said and done, what did the buyer go and do? Refinance, right? With a Freddie Mac mortgage, it's like 3%. So at the end of the day, they got the building they wanted for a fraction of its what its value at full capacity. Did the rent participation piece, built that in, and then when it's all said and done, they refinanced it anyways and got a real low interest rate on the loan, and they pulled out more equity. So it was a great deal for everybody. But that's, by the way, that's in the chapter, the Massive Passive Cash Flow book, Massive Passive Cash Flow Method book. I think it's the 4th chapter is on creative purchasing techniques. And I think that technique is in there. If it's not, I have to add it, but it should be in there. And a lot of these deals, no matter what it comes down to, it usually comes down to money in some way, shape, or form. So if you can be creative on how the deal is structured, sometimes you can save a deal, right? So I would definitely encourage you to read that chapter if you haven't. Okay.
Sometimes too, you can purchase a building. You can purchase an underperforming building, get it to a point where, agree upon a sales price, not really pay for the building for year 1, 2, 3, whatever, even extend it past, year 2 or 3, and then go ahead and apply for a loan once it is performing. And it could be worth double the amount that you paid for it initially.
You mean do like a master lease, like you lease the entire building and
like a lease purchase,
Yep.
a lease purchase, and then extend your option.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. And the good news there is if you're really good at what you're doing, if you're good at managing properties, you can get a good deal on a lease option. And remember, when you do a lease option, the option part, the option document is locked in. You set that price in advance. So no matter what happens, the owner can't change the price on you. So if you go in there, you go in there and raise up all those rents, the building's going to be worth a whole lot more, right? And by the time you go to execute your option, you're right, you can, chances are, get a pretty darn good mortgage on it, with a low interest rate. So, yep. But
and
that's
then you could turn around and take all that money out of it and go and do it again.
Yep. That's one surefire way to get into a property with no money. I mean, you have to pay the option fee, but that's a lot less than putting a 20% down. Yeah. So the option fee is usually maybe 5% max. So, hey guys, any questions on that one? The lease option, lease purchase. Does anybody know what
I hadn't heard of that. You said master something or other. I recently came across that terminology about a month ago. What was that again?
Basically, it's what Karen's talking about is you do a lease option. So the option, it's 2 documents. The option
the other one that you said, a master something or other. Yeah,
the master lease is what you get. That just deals with the lease itself. So you lease, say, the 30-unit building. So you would lease that. A master lease has in there the right to sublet. So you get control of the whole building on a master lease, and then you sublet the individual units, which means you can make the rates anything you want, the rental rates, Yeah, the option document, for those who don't know, I'm not a fan of rent to own, okay? I am a fan of lease option. So with a lease option, the buyer buys what's called an option document. They pay for the option to purchase the property at a later date. They're not actually purchasing the property itself. They're purchasing the right to purchase the property at a future date. Okay, so you buy that option. The option fee, by the way, is non-refundable. Okay, that's the benefit to the seller. So if you don't exercise your option, you lose your option fee, right? And
Not
then the
only
lease,
that, Gary, but you know, that master lease is kind of similar to the lease option in some cases, especially in a single family. Because if
Yeah.
you don't intend to lease that property yourself and you intend to put somebody else in it, that's exactly what it
Oh,
is.
yeah, no, I'm not saying it's two different strategies. What I'm just explaining to Cindy,
Right.
the lease you use will be called a master lease, but you would do that with a lease option purchase. Yeah.
Right, right.
You would do it with a lease. You would do a lease option purchase the option and get a master lease so that while you're under option, your option period, you have the right to go in and raise rents and do, make it a more valuable property. And then later on, you exercise your option by getting a traditional, or not traditional, but Freddie Mac mortgage for a 30-unit building and pay the seller at the rate that you agreed to 2, 3, 5 years before, right? And the current value is often going to be a lot more. So it's a genius idea. At the end of the day, the best deals are the ones you pay cash for, but it doesn't mean you just leave your cash in there. You pay cash and then you refinance later on, right? So, but at the end of the day, the best, cheapest, fastest way to get properties is to pay cash, So in any case, any questions on the lease option? I just want to make sure you guys are clear on that. It's slightly advanced, but it's not the most advanced thing you can do. It's just a lot of investors use that to get started in buying properties. Okay. Okay, let's see. Hey, Juan's on. Hey, Juan, good to see you.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Tony and I were talking about this today. So those of us that are licensed real estate agents and those of us that want to invest, how do we parse the issue with being investors first and being agents second when it comes to buying and selling investment property?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, as
Okay.
agents, our commissions and everything, our payments have to go through our state brokers,
Mm-hmm.
and then they send it out. So if we're not purchasing through the MLS or as an agent per se, how does that work?
Well, no matter what, Rob, you
We
always
always
have
to
to
disclose that we're agents. We know
always.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So here's my position, because used to be a broker of record. I would always my brokerage company, when I had my independent brokerage company, 99% of what we did was investing and working with investors. So what I told my guys is, look, if you go outside of brokerage, okay, and you do a deal outside of brokerage, nobody's covered with E&O insurance. Okay, so right off the bat, you're at a huge disadvantage. But here's the sad part about that. Can you do it? Sure you can. But most brokers will tell you don't do it, and here's why. Let's say you disclose, which you have to do in every situation, guys. If you're doing your own investing, which was what a lot of us do, including me, you always want to disclose. Okay, don't ever not disclose, because if something ever goes to litigation, the other lawyer on the other side, they're gonna jump on that right away. You did not disclose that you're an agent, and because you have a license, the court holds you in a higher regard. You're considered more sophisticated than the average consumer who does not have a license. But worst case scenario is this, and this has happened. I've actually seen this happen, and it's actually happened to me. Okay, one of my flippers, who was an agent, flipped his own house, right? And the contractor screwed up. Basically, was making this a big giant open floor plan design, and took out some load bearing walls. And when he went to put in replace the supports in place of the old load bearing wall, he didn't go down and dig a footer far enough. So what happens if to a pier and a column, when you don't have a footer that's down far enough? Well, it's going to sink. That's exactly what happened. So over the year, this second floor is starting to droop and sag in the middle. So in any case, the buyer was actually a radio disc jockey for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He was part of that group, and he did the Penguins games live on radio, right? So when he went to the owner, who was my agent, saying, you know, you got to take care of this. The owner said, well, actually, no, I don't. I don't do the work on those properties. I hire a licensed contractor. You go after him. Well, so this the Jury Rand was his name, by the way. Was how's that for a first name, Jury? So Jury Rand gets a lawyer who I knew, and the lawyer called me up, and I was down in Virginia Beach, and I saw that, hey, I knew who it is. So I answered the call. Hey, Ryan, how you doing? Hey, Gary. Good news is it's always good to see you. Bad news is I got to sue you. I was like, what are you talking about? And see, whenever a lawsuit ensues, it doesn't just involve the agent involved. They automatically attach the broker too. Automatically, by default. It's actually state law. And they have to also attach the other agent, and that other agent's brokerage. So now you got two agents in there, two brokerages in there. They pulled in the title company. They pulled in the inspector, the housing inspector for the city. Of course, the city got him out of that. The old saying about you can't fight City Hall. Well, that was a real, they were out. They were the first one that the judge let go. Although the city inspector should have caught it, right? They're supposed to come by and check footings before they let piers get set, and they either didn't do it or didn't care or whatever. In any case, the contractor knew he screwed up, so he settled right away. $80,000. He was out. That left the brokers, okay, one of which was me. And when we went to court, I said, no, I'm not settling. This is crazy. I'm not going to settle. Let's go to court. Boy, that was a dumb move, because that lawyer didn't use real estate law at that point. What body of law did he use? When a consumer got the wrong of a deal, what body of law protects consumers from faulty products and services? Consumer protection law. Yep. And we didn't have a prayer. So it was a big, ugly deal. And so my lesson was, and Cliff, my attorney, used to tell me this, he says, I don't care what you say, you make sure your agents always go through the brokers. Let them have the deal with no commission, but make sure they go through brokers. So long story short, Rob, is always go through brokers so you're protected with E&O and insurance. And EXP lets you get 3 deals a year with no commission. And we do the same thing on the team. If you do more than that, just come talk to me and we'll work it out. But I don't want to harm you in any way. I just want to protect you. And I don't get harmed anymore because I'm not the broker of record. But we do not want to harm EXP Realty. Yes, Karen?
I want to add to that, to your
Yeah.
comment about going through the broker. I flipped for 10 years, and every single thing I put through the broker except one. And that one, I got sued.
Mhm.
And they sued us. They sued my company,
Oh, that's
and
not-
they tried to attach it to us personally. And we had fantastic real estate attorney anyway, but and they wanted to make it about non-disclosure. And it was a flip that I bought for $39,000 and I sold for $279,000. I put a lot of money into it. It was perfect. By the time it was done, there was a lot of work done, structural work. I mean, just all kinds of different things that were done to the house. And I'll tell you what, after that, I was like, you know what? It's just not worth the hassle of not going through the broker. That was the one and only time I had not ever gone through them. And I mean, you know what? I learned my lesson.
I know in
But-
Florida,
We won the case, but I mean, still.
it's still a hassle.
It is. It's a huge hassle.
I know in Florida, they have, if you have a wholesale and you want to just flip the wholesale contract, they make you double close. You can't wait on the buyer sees funding either. You have to double close. So that's called transactional funding if you have that. But
Mhm.
in Florida, they make you double close. And yeah, you can still have your freebie and all that, but it's got to be done through the brokerage double close. And when you say disclose, put it in big bold writing and make sure that the seller or the other party signs that you disclose that you are an agent.
Mhm. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I put it on all my paperwork when, for all that kind of stuff. So that was not even in question. As a matter of fact, that was what released us personally from the lawsuit. So, I mean, those things are really important to do as well. So you're right. I mean, make sure, yeah, you just everything you can disclose, you could disclose, but people will go after you for things that they do and things that, and the other thing too, is when you do this, can I, if just add another thing, take photographs, because photographs actually helped, because some of their complaints were about things that happened and we had photographs of the way we left things and they weren't the same as what they were complaining about. So like even stupid things, like they were talking about mulch being around like the garage and we didn't mulch it. And you could see the way we left it and that there was actually like concrete left. And I mean, just stupid things like that. But they were complaining about water getting in the garage and with the mulch, and there was no mulch the way we left it, stupid things like that. Make a huge difference. So photograph, document.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elon firing the mean girl.
What's that, Lisa?
Oh, I'm sorry. I should be on mute. I'm multitasking. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
It's one of those times here on the Pacific Coast that there's too much going on all at the same time. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Hey, Rob, by the way, I wanted to tell you, so there was two situations. That was the first one where was, unfortunately, we didn't have it because the agent went completely outside everything and it was not a thing. Said, sorry, you didn't go through brokers. The other one though, there was another was one of my agents helped her daughter buy what she thought was a 3-unit, ended up being legally a 2-unit and didn't come out there after the closing. The housing inspector, the occupancy code enforcer messed up. Didn't matter. It didn't matter. The code was the code. Fortunately, we had E&O there. So same thing, everybody gets sent to court, the agents, the brokerages, the title company, everybody under the sun, the municipality. Of course, municipality is first one out, free as a bird. They didn't have to pay a dime, and they're the ones that screwed up actually. But the good news here is, guess what we got when we had E&O insurance? Who was there in the courtroom with us?
The attorney.
A really good attorney.
Yeah.
And guess how much it cost me?
Nada.
Yeah, well, a few bucks, but nothing like before. Before it was totally on me, total out of pocket. Here, and remember, and if you're with a big brokers like EXP, you'll have to pay a little bit, but nothing compared to what it is if you're on your own. And the chances are they're going to get a really good, cheap settlement out of this deal, make things all go away nice and easy. So it is way, way, way worth it. Believe me, if you've ever been to court before, and you're a realtor and the other person's not a realtor, those attorneys are going to jump all over. You're the mean bad guy and that poor old consumer didn't know what they were doing and they just did what you told them to do, and all that stuff. So makes it so much easier, more peaceful. Sleep at night is cheaper, and if you think about it here, you've got now one of the largest companies, 87,000 agents now, something like that. So you have good coverage, and we'd only pay for it if we use it, which is pretty neat. I like that idea. And all the other brokerages, you had to pay for whether you use it or not. Here, you don't use it, you don't pay for it. Pretty neat. So
The other
Has
thing
anybody
I
heard-
like about running underneath E&O is I used to use it when people were with other small companies, and I'm like, they're going to go after the deepest pocket. I'd rather be with my deep pocket than your little whatever it was company that does not have a deep pocket.
Yep.
I never want to be the deepest pocket in the transaction.
Yep. I used to actually keep a fund in like a separate account. So if ever anything came up, and I actually did this one time and it did work. I said, look, here's the deal. We could either go to court, we're going to fight it out, duke it out. At the end of the day, it's going to cost me $5,000. Or we could do this right now. I could give you $5,000 and you just go about your merry way. Which would you prefer? And they took they waived all rights to everything and took the 5,000 and ran. That was a lot cheaper than going to court and doing all the other stuff, you know? So, any case, hey guys, this subject comes up probably twice a year, and it really is important because a lot of us either invest or want to invest. I've done wholesaling outside of brokerage, inside of brokerage. There is absolutely a way to do that. I don't care for it. I don't like wholesaling. I used to do it, but I don't like it anymore. But there is a way to do it. It's an actual legal, bona fide, correct way to do it, where you're completely removed from liability if you do it the right way. So there's things are possible. It's just you want to discuss these things, and whatever in doubt, you know what? If it's not cut and dry, I always go to the state broker of record. I speak to the state broker of record at least once a week for different states and say, here's the scenario. This is what we'd like to do. You know, I'm seeking your advice. What would you suggest in this scenario? Here's what I'm going to present to you as far as our solution. In most cases, they go along with us. You know, very rarely will they say, nah, you can't do that, you know? So.
Has anybody heard of MV Realty doing their little shenanigans? Of what they're doing is they're offering people fast cash for like $1,500 to $2,000. And what they have done for that little bit of money is put a cloud on the title of the property to where if they change the deed, even to a family member, the value of that transfer, they owe MV Realty 3%. So if they transfer it to their family and the value of the transfer would have been a $300,000 sale, they would owe that MV Realty $9,000. So make sure if you have a conversation with people that they don't know what that meant when it was on the title, that they may owe that company an extra thousands of dollars. But I do see a class action coming out of that because it's taking advantage of people in my book.
So the scenario you're describing there, MV Realty, are they acting as agent for either one of the parties, either the seller or the buyer?
Well, apparently they're national. I came across it in a notary job and I was looking at it and I had my notary hat on and all I could tell the people is like, here's your 3-day right of rescission. Please take this to your attorney, use this 3-day right of rescission. And they were telling me about how, well, they really wanted the money to do this, that, and the other. I so wanted to tell them because they were in their 60s that they could do the reverse mortgage to get more money than what they were doing, because they were talking, well, what happens if I want to transfer it to my children? And the paperwork that they were signing means any transfer of that property, the value of the sale of the property at that time is they owe 3%.
Okay, in order for them to do that, Lisa, you can, if you guys want to write this down, if you feel like a deal is going sideways for the purpose of quote unquote cheating you out of a commission, you can actually record any sales agreement, any listing agreement. You can record any contract at the county courthouse. You can record it, and when you record that, it becomes a lien, you know, or lienable. Excuse me, not lien, but lienable. So if somebody goes to sell it, and that listing agreement's still alive and active, for example, they would have to pay you your commission to be able to sell that property, you know? So I don't know if this is what this company's doing, but it sounds like it's a little bit, quite frankly, to me, it sounds a little bit shady, you know?
Yeah, I just put a link in there to it. And based on different lawyers think that it's going to be waiting for one big class action and they're going to lose their shirt. Because I think 60 Minutes or some local news people have covered it over on the east coast of Florida. And I think they're also in other parts of United States.
Mhm.
So I think it's coming. It's kind of predatory kind of thing, if you really think about it.
Yeah. Let's see, here's MV Realty homeowners. Here, let me share my screen. Sorry.
I'm looking at that and it says right there, and it's not hidden and it's not in any lower font. It says, in the event you sell your home without an agent or with another brokerage, you'll owe a termination fee equal to the amount of commission. So
Yeah.
Now, selling, I guess selling and transferring could be
No,
considered the
I've
same
seen,
thing.
I've seen the contract. I've seen the contract. It's in the contract. It's in their fine print, in any transfer. It's and it tax. So if you're in your 60s and you pass away in your 80s and your children get it because it's in probate, that it's against the heirs too. There's language in the contract that these people are signing. It holds their heirs to this same level of obligation.
Yeah, they got a double asterisk here that says sale of the property can include events that cause a change in the ownership or title of the property.
So
Now, who
here's
would
what the
wanna do business
salespeople
with
do
these
that
kind
when
of
when I get these notary orders, I never can call the homeowner first to make the appointment. I'm always calling the agent that sold this product to them, kind of keeping me out of the middle kind of thing, having the conversation of talking them out of it. So when I get them on my notary order, I don't take them anymore because I can't in good conscience take these.
Yeah. Lena, sale of a property can include events that cause a change in the ownership or title of the property. That means like adding your child to the deed, for example, your son or daughter. Yep. That to me, that would be predatory. And check this out, guys. A 40-year agreement.
That's where they tag into your heirs with that.
Good Lord. I mean, why would anybody do this? You know?
Because they're
Yeah.
desperate for money and these people advertise it. And I don't know that it's very predatory. If you back to if the notary cannot make an appointment with the homeowner, they can only go through the salesperson that sold them this contract. What do you think? Shady.
Yep. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're giving them some cash up front, $300 to $5,000 for a 3% lien on the property. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an attorney, but I would say that would be considered somewhat predatory, you know? I mean, they're slapping a lien, that person's probably sole investment in their entire lives, you know? Or if anything, if they did a calculation on rate of return, let's face it, let's say they get 9,000 on a sale, the HV company, and they only gave that owner 3,000. That's a 200% interest rate. That is definitely usurious, you know. So
I'm waiting for it to pull out into a class action.
hey, by the way, Augustine had a question. Is a lease option and is the option document in Texas transferable? Let me make sure or assignable. Let me make sure I got the wording right on that. Augustine, hang on 1 second. Where is that? Can we assign lease option contracts? So first off, it's actually 2 documents. The lease is 1 document and the option is another document. It depends on the wording. So a lease generally is assignable unless it's prohibited. If you can put you can stipulate as a landlord that your lease is not assignable. And they could consider that subletting actually. So it's a form of subletting. The option document is more synonymous with a sales agreement, although it's not a sales agreement, it's an option document. So I would say if there's no language prohibiting the sale of that, then you probably could sell it. You probably could assign it, but you probably wouldn't assign it unless you got something out of it. Because remember, you already gave the owner, say, $5,000. So if you assign the option to somebody else, the option document, you want to get at least $5,000 out of it, right? And by the way, the owner would definitely have to agree to it. But if you put it right in there when you offer the option document, if you put it in there, you know, Augusta Azua and/or signs, and he signs it, then that's acceptance, right? But you can't do it later. You have to, whenever you do any type of a sales agreement, any offer, or in this case, an option, whatever the terms are, you got to put it in there up front. Because if you don't, later on, if you want to add it, both parties have to agree. Does that make sense, guys? Hey, is Augustine, let's see. Augustine, you still there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm still here and I got it all. Yeah.
Okay, good.
We got a meeting coming up and I'll discuss it a little bit further, but yeah, you answered my question.
Yeah, I've never seen an option document being sold before. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but you just have to put it in there right up there when you list your name, you put, Augusta Nazua and or signs. And the seller might say, I don't agree with that. It's going to be you or nobody else. You can't sell this. Or he or she will go for it, So good question.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gary,
Yes, ma'am.
now we haven't really, we aren't really talking about this at the moment, but, since we're talking about like different things that we could do if we were investing or while we're investing, how do you feel about, because I know I like this and, but I like the idea of kind of covering your butt by putting something in a contract, a purchase contract, to the effect of, contingent upon your cat, your dog, your partner basically approving of your purchase. In other words, having that other individual approve of it. I know that in just about everything that like Robert Kiyosaki, does, that's something that he suggests doing. And I really like that. And some of the advisors that write for him, I guess they really like putting something like that. It's an easy out of any agreement. So how do you feel about that? I like that idea.
Yeah, if you want to build in safety clause, we call that the weasel clause, is you can say, this is contingent upon partnership approval. So I used to do that. And then what I realized is when I'm on the other side selling, what I used to say was, well, I'll tell you what, you get your partner's approval first, and then we'll sign the agreement. That's what I would tell them in response.
Yeah.
So here's something that actually does work. And Christine's the one who told me about this the other day. I never thought of it before. I mean, you know how on the sales agreement, you can elect an insurance contingency, like you're going to purchase the property contingent upon you being able to get a property insurance policy, right? So you should have an insurance person as one of your key team players. And I used the same company for years. In fact, there was a couple properties I ended up switching from the old insurance company to this company's name. It was part of Farmers Mutual, by the way. I love Farmers Mutual. Great insurers for rental properties. And the agent told me there's two brothers and a sister that ran the agency where I was. And it's, what we like to do sometimes is we like to, we'll go and do an inspection. We'll send a roofer out, a roofing inspector, before we'll approve insuring the property. It's a benefit to you, Mr. Wilson, because, if you really need to get out of it and you think that roof is suspect from the beginning, let's put that in there in the beginning. Just make sure you elect the insurance contingency. It doesn't say how that contingency is executed. It doesn't say the insurance company can or can't send a roofing inspector out there, and that's exactly what they would do. So I never executed it, but I remember thinking, well, what a great partnership for somebody to think of that kind of thing on your behalf. That's why you want to have a great lender, a great insurance person, a great attorney, because that's perfectly legal. And most sellers wouldn't catch that as being something odd. It's part of the boilerplate. You elected the insurance contingency. It's the insurance company that's saying, hey, before we underwrite this, we're going to send out an inspector because we think the roof may be suspect. And the inspector come back and say, yep, you've got, maybe a year left on this roof or something. The insurance company can say, sorry, we're not going to underwrite this policy. Then you have your out, so stuff like that way you're using the contract. And there's other things you can do. I mean, I've seen all kinds of stuff that people put in their properties. Most of them are just regular contingencies. But for example, if you're buying a big property and you're using creative purchasing, for example, we bought a building one time and we convinced the lender, it was a regularly chartered bank, okay, and it was owned by real estate investors. How about that? Really smart guys too. What we convinced them to do is give us a loan, sort of like a construction loan, give us the money to purchase the property and the money we had some capital improvements. We needed to put a new parking lot, 6 new boilers. And by today's standards, that would have been probably, $400,000. So they did it. So they gave us that money on draws, right? Draws to do the parking lot, draws to do the boilers and so forth until the money was all drawn out. And at the end, if we didn't use it all, we either got to draw it and use it to keep it in a capital expense account for future things like roofing, for example, or just not take that remaining money, and then the lien would be less. They would re-record a lien at a lower amount. So in any case, one of the contingencies was that we would get financing for purchasing and remodeling, like combined. Now, we could have bought the property with just a purchasing financing and not the remodeling financing. We were prepared to do that. We would have just got another loan or come up with our own money. But we thought we would try this with the bank, and they went for it, you know? So what I'm getting at is, you know, if you're purchasing a property, or if you're representing a client who's purchasing a property, that type of loan is more common in the commercial world. But make sure they put that contingency in, or they put in there financing for purchase and remodeling. You follow what I'm saying? So if the bank says, hey, we'll do the purchase, but not the remodel, then it gives your buyer the right to back out, and it doesn't cost them a dime, you know? You know, things like that, it helps to have conversations with other people, you know, call me, you know, call Karen. I mean, there's a, you know, Craig Leverett does commercial work. Anybody who's worked with investors is probably going to run across these things from time to time. I know Tom Wall's on. Tom's an investor too. So reach out to people and ask those questions and get some creative ideas, and also read that chapter. Hey, Bev, when you're listening to this tomorrow, send out the chapter on creative purchasing techniques, if you could, with everybody. So you guys will all get that chapter, and just print it out, you know, dog ear it, you know, highlight some things that you think could be creative, because it's not all just how to make a deal work on the front end. Sometimes you can fall back on some of those techniques to keep a deal together, which is how this whole meeting started tonight. How do you keep a deal together? A lot of times it comes down to being able to structure the deal in a certain way that makes everybody happy. And let's face it, stuff comes up in inspections, right? I mean, who here's ever had a deal almost fall apart because of an inspection, and you were able to keep it together because you were able to figure out how to get the thing, you know, repaired before closing? Anybody have a deal like that you ever able to salvage? Yeah. So it probably took some finagling with some money, right? The contractor had the delay payment till the closing, or maybe the seller put money in escrow, or the buyer put money in escrow to hold, and the title company will do that until the repairs get done. Then the money is dispersed from the escrow. Little things like that can really keep a deal together. It's usually money. If you can somehow solve it with money, usually you'll have yourself a successful closing. So,
And on that, when you're talking about repairs and escrow, some of your lenders won't let the seller put money in escrow for the repair to be done after close, because the seller has to have the cash from close in order to remake the repair. Back to find a roofer that'll do it, or the loan, the 203K loan can be done for a buyer that's going to live in the property that can do the repairs with the loan scenario as well. And they have a project manager that actually watches those projects, make sure they get done. You can't use your family member to do it.
Yep. Although we'll tell you this, I don't know. I don't think it was just me. I don't think it was because of me and my history with owning properties, but we had massive floods in 2004 in the Western Pennsylvania area. It was just disastrous. I mean, 2 hurricanes came through 2 weeks apart, and the second one came through at the same time as another big storm came up from the north. That was perfect storm scenarios. And we had I think 12 units that we had to vacate because people couldn't live there anymore. Floors were buckling, mold was forming, stuff like that. So when the insurance adjusters came around, they were just stroking checks left and right. It was like Christmas time. I mean, and it came to the investor, non-owner occupied properties. It wasn't like that. They were scrutinizing everything, and they were like, "You got to have a bona fide contractor. You got to do this, got to that. We got to see 3 estimates." I'm like, "Holy crap!" The regular homeowner just got a big giant fat check to do whatever they want with. So what I did was, I called my agent. I said, "Look, you guys know I have a couple of crews, and I direct the crews as far as what they're doing to the properties." I said, "Is there any way they will let me use my crews? They're all licensed, registered, whatever. And he called back and said, well, I got some good news. He said, not only are they gonna let you use your crews because they're bonded and insured. He said, because we've said that we vouched that you were providing direction, you get to pay yourself 10%. I'm like, really? He said, yeah, and that's 10%. It was 12 units across maybe 4 properties. And we're talking a few $100,000 in repair work. So I got a nice little payday out of it. I actually made money. Please don't take this the wrong way, guys. I actually made money on the floods. I did. My properties were worth more money at the end. They were remodeled and we put in new kitchens. It was crazy. And so I had more valuable properties that insurance paid for. I got to charge more rent and I paid myself a management fee to manage everything. So, and all it took was me asking just, hey, can I use my guys to do this work? I don't trust the other people. I don't want to wait 6 months. My guys work for me and they're ready to go now, you know? So keep that in mind. I don't think that they would just let any old homeowner do that, but if you have contractors at your disposal, okay? And I know a lot of agents that I've taught over the years, the clients use them to help figure out what to do with the property. Hey, what do you think I should do with the kitchen? And the agent, the trained investor agent says, hey, based on this market, you should use this $10,000 kitchen, right? And many of you are doing that now. And if you're not, you'll get there. But that's invaluable advice, right? To a flipper, knowing exactly what you know the market, right? You're the realtor, you know what the market's bearing and what would work. So you're telling these guys, here's the carpeting you need, here's the kitchen you need, here's the fixtures in the bathroom you need. You know, use these contractors because they know what kind of HVAC to get that's reliable, durable, and a lot less expensive than the brand name ones. So all those things really matter. It saves your clients money and it makes you look like a hero. And you never know, you might be able to get a management contract. Actually, I know realtors, by the way, who also ran a project management business on the side, managing the remodeling projects for their clients. You have to disclose all that. Everything you got to disclose. You're a realtor, you're a contractor, and however you're making money, and your broker has to know it too. You don't ever assume it's okay. Always say, hey, I just want to let you guys know what I'm doing. I've got a side business. I'm insured, I'm bonded, whatever the case is, make sure your broker knows, you know. Okay, what kind of questions do we have? You guys okay? Hey, let's do a show of hands here or type in the chat box. Did tonight's discussion help give you some creative ideas of how to think and react and respond to people when stuff pops up? Okay, good. If you could do me a favor, just write this one thing down. If you find yourself stuck on something, just promise me, make a commitment, write it down. I will not give up. I will not give up when the deal goes sideways. And call me, call any of the leaders in the group here. I mean, you've got some wonderful talent here on the team. My gosh, I mean, Andre's been in the business since I was shaving, I guess. I don't know. How long you been in the business, Andre? No, just kidding.
31 years.
Holy smokes, there you go. He's seen 5 market cycles, okay? And I'm sure he's seen all kinds of transactions. So you got a lot of amazing talent. I'd say tap into it. You could obviously always you know, call me, text me, email me. And I mean, Leslie Perez did the other day. She just had a call today with me. So interesting subject there. She had a client who wanted to either lease or buy a commercial building and knew the building they wanted, and it's not on the market. So Leslie and I did the detective work to find the owner. She called them up and now they're in discussion. How about that? Right out of the blue. Use ReallyFlow, use the county records. And I was online with her doing some detective work and found the guy's, the owner's phone number right online. Said, well, here you go, give him a call. And now they're trying to get things going. So you always swing the bat, always say yes to opportunity. And when you get something under contract, defend it. It's hard work getting these things under contract. We got to sometimes work just as hard to keep it under contract, you know? Okay, you guys ready to call it a day? All right.
Yeah, good call, Gary.
All right, thanks, guys. Hey, remember
Yes,
Thursday
yes.
night at 7, if you want to be part of that group to teach a class at a community college, It's not going to be a very complex process, I promise you. And if you're for essentially 6 to 8 hours, you know, you're going to get clients out of it, and they're paying you. They're paying the community college $100 for a 6 or 8 week class. You get half the money. The community college gets the other half. They pay for all the marketing. You don't pay a dime for it. So these people pay you to teach them, and we've got all the material for you. You don't even have to come up with the material. By the way, this is a great way to learn the material. Doing this, the best way to learn it is to teach it. I'm telling you, okay? And this is one-on-one level stuff. This is not advanced, it's basic one-on-one. And you get clients out of it. I couldn't think of a better way to get clients. So in any case, hope to see you guys Thursday night. There's no other meetings or classes this week, so we'll see you then. And if not, we'll see you next Monday. Oh, next Monday. We do have a guest, and his name is Charles Chandler. And you have to look at the email from Beverly tomorrow to get the subject, because I can't remember, I didn't write it down. So remember, tomorrow's email has the recording and the registration link for others. So in any case, happy Halloween, guys. I know it's 8:30, time to go trick-or-treating, at least if you're still in the central mountain or western time zone. So go have some fun with your kids and grandkids. And I like Reese's cups. So if you want to save Reese's cups for me, I'll take it from you next time I see you. And Juan, give me a call tomorrow, Juan, if you want, because I just want to see what your feedback is on the class tonight. Everybody say hi, Juan.
Hi, Juwan.
Hi, Juan.
Hi, Dawn.
Yep. So
Thank
great.
you very much. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, everybody. You guys have a good night. God bless you and your families, and stay safe.
Too.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.